In episode 7 of Reacher season 3, Beck's ear appears to be missing, which begs the question of what Xavier Quinn may have done to him following the events of episode 6. Xavier Quinn was at his lowest point in Reacher season 3 episode 6 after discovering that not one, but two of Beck's employees were undercover agents. When he found out that Reacher had escaped the Beck mansion without being held accountable for spying on them, his anger only increased. Quinn showed Beck how he could hurt his son after accusing him of being responsible for their recent blunders. Zachary Beck could only watch Quinn carry out his evil schemes, despite his best efforts to stop him and shield his son. Neagley meets Beck in episode 7 of Reacher season 3 and asks him to help them catch Quinn red-handed because he thinks he might be ready to switch sides. It is difficult to ignore the fact that Beck's ear is missing during their meeting, which raises the possibility that Quinn severed it. Quinn reminded Beck of his helplessness by cutting off his ear, adding insult to Richard's injury. By focusing on Zachary Beck's son, Quinn initially took over his life and company. To demonstrate to Zachary his abilities, he not only kidnapped his son Richard but also severed one of his ears. Beck gave in and turned over his gun smuggling operation to Quinn after witnessing the lengths he would go to in order to obtain his goals. Quinn needs to be reminded of his powerlessness against Beck after he makes a number of mistakes in the second half of Reacher season 3. Anthony Bryan T as Xavier Quinn and Olivier Richters as Paulie. Quinn thus cuts off Beck's ear to further aggravate his son's injury and demonstrate to him that he is still in charge. Quinn shows his lack of concern for Zachary's and his son's health by giving them both the same ear injury. The ear cutting also acts as a warning that he will not think twice about using even more severe torture techniques if he gets caught again. Beck is also successfully manipulated by Quinn, as he only becomes more terrified of him after he cuts his ear and threatens to kill his son. Beck was punished for allowing two moles to enter the operation by having his ear cut off. Before Jack Reacher went undercover for the DA and began looking into the gun-running industry, everything appeared to be going smoothly for the main antagonist of Reacher season 3. Annette, an ATF agent, also pretended to be a maid in the Beck home while Reacher was at it in order to inform her superiors about the company's activities. When Annette was apprehended and killed, Quinn maintained a semblance of composure. But when Reacher also turned out to be an informant, he finally lost it. Beck hired both Annette and Reacher, so Quinn chose to hold him accountable for the company's setbacks. He wanted to prove that he was at his breaking point with him and that he and his son would perish if he made one more mistake. Quinn therefore severed his ear to make sure Beck would take him seriously, reminding him of how easily he could kidnap and harm his son. Beck initially intends to stay faithful to Quinn despite having his ear amputated, but he decides to assist Reacher by giving him the exact address of his upcoming gun transaction. Quinn's ear stunts show how he differs from the villains of Reacher seasons 1 and 2. The antagonists in Reacher seasons 1 and 2 engaged in a number of immoral activities in an effort to acquire or hold onto their wealth and power. Nonetheless, their actions were typically motivated by rationality. Just because they appeared to enjoy it did not mean that they went on a merciless killing or torturing rampage. But Quinn is not like them. Because Quinn likes to see people suffer, he purposefully tortured Dominique Cole to death, as the flashback scenes in Reacher season 3 demonstrate. Because of his utter lack of empathy and his sadistic enjoyment of causing suffering, even characters such as Reacher and Neagley recognize how dangerous Quinn can be. Quinn seems to enjoy torturing Zachary Beck and his son, even chopping off their ears for amusement. The only reason he appears to keep them alive is because he depends on Beck to manage the gun smuggling operation. Because of his utter lack of empathy and his sadistic enjoyment of causing suffering, even characters such as Reacher and Neagley recognize how dangerous Quinn can be. Neagley also recognizes in episode 7 of Reacher season 3 that Quinn is different from everyone they have ever met.